Actually, while working on this project, I really understood Facebook's motto, which everyone knows is move fast with stable infrastructure. Um,
What's up, everybody? How's it going? Today, I'm joined by a very special guest. This is my good friend, Kevin. He was actually a software engineer at Google. He worked with me when I was on Google Cloud Platform at Google. He's also a software engineer at Facebook. I worked with him a little bit at Facebook when I was there. And today, he's going to tell us about a really cool feature that he's been working on, or a cool product that he's been working on during the last few months. So, Kevin, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Kevin. Introducing myself, I've been coding since I was in high school, so I've been coding for over 20 years now. I've been paid to code since I graduated high school, which is over 15 years ago. Then I went to university where I studied software engineering at the University of Queensland in Australia. So I've been a full-time software engineer for over 10 years now. Of those 10 years, I spent 6 years at Google. I should also mention that at Google, I started in the Sydney, Australia office. I transferred to Zurich, Switzerland, and then I transferred to where I am now in New York City, which has been just a whirlwind. And now for the past year, I've been working at Facebook. And actually, it's been exactly 1 year. So today is my 1 year faceversary, which is really fitting. Yeah, thank you. Which is really fitting because today is also the day that we're releasing the most impactful project I've ever worked on in my life. And this is Facebook Messenger Rooms.
Cool, that's awesome. And I can't believe that you've been working for like 15 plus years as a software developer. That's insane. And I remember you had like 7 years at Google and you did so many different offices. So cool, like the amount of experience that you've had. But so about the project at Facebook, you and I worked on the same team when I was at Facebook, which was a team completely different. We were working on internal tools in VS Code. This is a very different project. Can you tell us a little bit about like what this is exactly?
So the short answer is it's video conferencing for Facebook. The slightly longer answer is you can use Rooms to set up a video call that has a URL. So instead of ringing everyone's phone, you can send a link to your friends through Messenger or SMS or email or whatever, and they can join on their own terms. But the other cool thing about this is that if you want, you can make your room visible on Facebook and your friends can just find it there. And you end up in these spontaneous meetups with your friends that wouldn't otherwise have happened if you didn't have this space for finding each other.
Like you might be on Facebook and you might see, for instance, a room pop up that your friends are in.
Yeah, totally. You'll be able to see all the rooms that people have made available to you, and you can just drop in to whichever one you want.
Oh, cool. And so what did you work on for this feature?
So I didn't work on the actual video conferencing part of it. That was another team. But I worked on the web interface on Facebook.com to create rooms, to discover rooms, and to click to join them on your computer.
Okay, so a lot of front-end work.
Yeah, this was full-on front-end web software engineering.
The kind of software engineering that I love. But so here's my question, because when I last saw you, once again, we were working on a completely different project. It seems like you switched to this project very quickly. How did that happen?
Yeah, so previously to this, I was working on internal data science tools at Facebook, which is really important to the company. But when the coronavirus pandemic hit, I was looking for ways that I could help the world more directly with responding to this threat of the virus. And I was also fortunate to be working for a company that was also really keen to help the world. So I started looking around for opportunities where I could leverage my skills as a software engineer and my position at Facebook to help out with the virus response. So I put my name in the proverbial hat, and a few weeks later, I got a message from an engineering director about this project that has been going on to help people connect while being physically apart. And pretty much without thinking about it, I just said yes straight away. And I told my manager and my team, and basically the next day I started working on this project. And I should say that my manager...
Cool.
I should say that my manager and my team were super supportive. And the company was also really supportive of people moving to pandemic response project.
Yeah, I think this is really an important thing to point out here because I get a lot of questions from people who ask me, like, hey, if I join a big tech company, am I going to be able to switch teams easily if I don't really like the product that I'm working on or if there's something I'm more passionate about? And as you can see, like, clearly the answer is yes. This happened really quickly. Again, like back in January when I had lunch with you at Facebook, you were still working on this team, the data science internal tools team, but now you're on a completely different project and it happened so quickly and it sounds like Facebook really like enabled you to do that.
Yeah, totally. And actually at big companies like this where they have so many opportunities, it really gives you the freedom to work on what you want as long as it's within the mission of that company. And that's what I did here.
Right, right. And it sounds like you also sought it out, which is kind of, you know, an important thing to do. Like if there's an opportunity that you want to take, you have to kind of grab it and then it's given to you.
Yeah, totally.
So let's talk a little bit about actually working on this project. Because it sounds like this involved a lot of people, a lot of moving parts. It happened very quickly, as we've said many times now. Can you tell us a little bit about what it was like working on a project of this scale?
Let me just say that my first impression on that day that I joined this project, I had a really intense first impression. I was thrown into this group chat and there were messages flying everywhere. And it was immediately clear that this project was running in another gear. The other thing is that I was already working from home at this point, and honestly, I felt a little bit alone and out of my comfort zone because I didn't know the technology stack that this project was built on. I hadn't been working on Facebook.com before. I was working on internal data science tools. And honestly, that first day, I had second thoughts about this because my original team was pretty chill. You know that. We worked on that. We talked about this.
Yep.
And, you know, it had good work-life balance. And I could tell straight away that this team was going to be really intense and it was going to take a lot of hard work.
Yeah, I mean, I can totally imagine the picture that you're painting about entering a project, having tons of messages all over the place, so much work to do. At a smaller scale, for me on Algo Expert, much smaller scale, we're only 4 people, but I feel that every day. When there are new things that we're working on, new features that we're launching, there's just so much stuff, and I can only imagine what it's like at a scale like this project that you're describing. And by the way, if you're preparing for coding interviews because you want to get into a big tech company like Facebook and work on such a cool project, check out my company algoexpert.io and use the promo code CLEM, C-L-E-M, for a discount on the platform. Sorry, Kevin, that was a little plug. I had to put that in. But let's get back to your project. Clearly, you stuck to this team. You decided to put in the hard work.
Yeah, I ended up sticking to it. And for the first few days I was on this project, I was just intensely focused on this. I was slurping up all the product documents, all the design mocks, all the libraries that we were using, and all the code base that had been written already. And anytime I couldn't find the answer to one of my questions myself, I just asked my new team, and they were really friendly and helpful, even though we'd never met in person. And basically, they were just a name to me in this group chat.
Right, because this was all remote, right? Because of the pandemic, you were working from home, and these were people, like, in other offices?
Yeah, so I was working with people in Menlo Park, California, in Israel, in London, and here I am in my apartment in New York City. So I had to get to know these people really quickly.
Right.
I could tell that everyone working on this project was really, really good. Like, they were just top-notch software engineers. And on the one hand, I didn't want to be a hindrance. I didn't want to be like this noob who comes in and wastes everyone's time. But at the same time, this motivated me. Like, it motivated me to be surrounded by all these people who were working really hard and who were really good at what they were doing.
I mean, it's definitely intimidating when you're kind of parachuted onto a new team, especially a large team, especially if you're remote. Clearly, like, you were able to get up to speed and ramp yourself up with all the documentation and all of that.
Yeah, so the thing that really helped me was that the technology stack that Facebook.com is built on, so the languages, the frameworks, the libraries, are really, really good in that it allowed someone like me to jump into this project with so little context and be up and running and writing correct code to best practices. And I had the safety net that we have a lot of automated systems that will pick up common mistakes before they're committed to the repository.
Yeah, and I mean, here, I don't want to suck up to Facebook, but I'm not going to lie, Facebook has some really, really awesome internal tools, especially if you're developing for Facebook.com, which it sounds like that's what you were doing for this project. But can you tell us a little bit more about what tech stack, if you're allowed to, what tech stack you were working with, like what, programming languages and, frameworks and libraries?
Yeah, totally. So the really cool thing is that basically all of the underlying technology that I was working with is open source. So in terms of the programming languages I was using, the bread and butter for Facebook is a language called Hack, which is basically an evolution of PHP that's much, much better than the original PHP. I wasn't working on that directly, but I was working mostly with a language called Flow, which is an evolution of JavaScript. So you might know from Clement's previous video that TypeScript is this superset of JavaScript, which adds type safety. And Flow is basically like that, but it was developed at Facebook basically at the same time that Microsoft was developing TypeScript. So now we have Flow and TypeScript. But compared to TypeScript, Flow is stricter, so it actually catches more errors in your code, which is good. But on the downside, the ecosystem outside of Facebook is not as good as TypeScript. And the third language I'll talk about is GraphQL, which is kind of a generic descriptive language for passing data from the server to the client.
So I never actually worked with GraphQL, but I've heard really good things about it. Did you like working with it?
The nice thing about GraphQL is it helps you write code to fetch exactly the data you need. No more and no less.
So it's like a more powerful querying type of language for, clients interacting with servers.
Yeah, it's kind of like a GET request where instead of just receiving everything the server thinks you might need, you can specify exactly which fields you're interested in, and it ensures that you don't download data that you don't need.
Right. And then as far as the front end, obviously you mentioned Flow, but you were working in React, I'm assuming?
We use React extensively for our user interface. This is pretty standard at Facebook now, and it's pretty standard in the industry as well. And we also use the library called Relay, which is how we access GraphQL from React. And Relay combined with React and Flow is a really powerful system because it really leverages the type system of Flow to make sure that the code you're writing doesn't fetch more than it's using.
And is Relay open source?
Relay is completely open source, yes.
Oh, wow, okay. And wait, Relay was created by Facebook, right?
Yep, it was created by Facebook. It was released, I think, in 2015, together with GraphQL. So Relay and GraphQL is like bread and butter.
So it's interesting. Here you're really using like so many technologies that are built by Facebook, but that happen to also be open source.
Yes.
Okay, here's my next question. That was an accurate answer. But here's my next question. I know that Facebook is very intentional about some of the tech they use, because I remember when I was there, they really ingrained in you how you have to optimize for performance because you're serving billions of users and so on and so forth. Did you feel that here? Like, did it feel like this tech stack was intentionally picked for this project? Was it just because that's the Facebook.com tech stack? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I think the motto that the infra teams go by is something like developer experience in service of user experience, which means with the technologies that that Facebook.com is built on, it makes it really easy to build a web app in a way that it's automatically fast, that it's accessible, that it's available in all the languages, and that it looks consistent and it looks good.
Yeah, and it's funny because like I read a post on the Facebook engineering blog just a couple of days ago. My co-founder on Algo Expert, Antoine, shared it to me, where they talked about that. They mentioned that. I'll probably put the link in the description below. But super cool. I mean, this is really an awesome tech stack. I got to play around with it a little bit when I was at Facebook. One thing that I wanted to ask you, or rather give you the opportunity to kind of clarify, is you said that you worked on the front end of this project, and specifically, I think you said you worked on the top unit of the Facebook newsfeed where you can enter a messenger room. You can clarify that maybe. But I think some people might not appreciate the complexity and the difficulty that comes with implementing such a feature. Even if it seems so simple on the outside, the fact that you have to do this at scale, you have to do this for an international audience or a global audience. Can you tell us a little bit about that, the difficulty of this project?
Yeah, totally. So like you said, I worked on the unit at the top of the Facebook feed where you can create rooms and you can discover your friends' rooms, and then you can click to join a room if you want. And a big consideration for this product was helping people feel safe, because video chat is quite an intimate experience. And we actually iterated a lot on communicating the nuance of who's invited when you create a room, for example, to make sure that people understand how the feature works so they're not surprised about who joins.
So you had to do a ton of iterations on this feature, which is like a ton of work, right?
Yeah, so what you see in the final product is actually the result of building and rebuilding this feature many times until we got this right. And the other thing is that we are building this for a global audience, so it has to be performant for people with all sorts of internet speeds, and it needs to be translated into all of the languages that we support. So it was actually quite a massive engineering challenge to build this thing.
These are all the types of issues that I think you just don't fully appreciate until you work at a big tech company that serves such a global audience, because you just don't realize that, oh yeah, stuff has to get translated, or stuff has to serve, some browser that's out of date or that doesn't have, someone who doesn't have good internet. So all these things are like really important and they really pop up in these types of projects. But I guess one of the final things I wanted to ask you was going back to the very beginning when you talked about just how you were thrown into this project really quickly. Like overall, it seems like this feature or this project was built and launched very, very quickly for such a large company. Do you think that this speaks to the Facebook culture, the Facebook engineering culture of being able to really ship stuff out very fast?
So actually, while working on this project, I really understood Facebook's motto, which everyone knows is move fast with stable infrastructure. And no, I'm serious, because this talks about the infrastructure, the technology, but also the culture of moving fast. And it was a little bit of both technology and culture. So the technology I've talked about, but in terms of the culture, people really came together from all parts of this company to put this product together. And going from not knowing anyone on this team, we really banded together to really intensely work on this because we were all so motivated to make this product a success.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine. Like you kind of start to grow an affection to the product or to the feature that you're working on, especially when you're working on it so much in such a short period of time. But so I guess maybe as a final question for this video, what personally motivated you to work on this project? Because you said it yourself, you left a team that was really chill and really interesting to join a team that was quite a bit harder, at least from a work point of view or work demand point of view. So why did you do it? Why were you motivated to do that?
Clement, did you know that Facebook has 2.6 billion users? It was just crazy to think that 2.6 billion people log into Facebook each month. And just the thought that the code I was going to write was going on the front page of Facebook.com and it was going to be seen by so many people. And the fact that this is a product that really helps people, I really believe that it's something that improves people's lives. And when I thought about this, I really wanted to make it work well because I wanted to ship a good product.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're describing the canonical reason for which a lot of people want to work at these big tech companies, which is that you can work on meaningful stuff, that impact literally billions of users. That figure, 2.6 billion users per month, is like mind-boggling.
Yeah, in the end, although this was a lot of work and it was a lot of responsibility to be on this project, I was working with amazing people, and the technology stack was actually really fun to work with. When the framework guides you down the right path and it has all these safety checks and warnings for when you're not doing things completely right, it actually makes programming quite delightful because you spend less time second guessing yourself and more time thinking about what you're going to build.
Awesome. I mean, it sounds like you just really had a great time on this project.
Yeah, honestly, overall working on Facebook Messenger rooms has been an incredibly fulfilling experience for me. And I'm really glad to be able to come on here and share this story with the world and maybe inspire a few people to go into software engineering.
I mean, that's awesome to hear. I think that this should hopefully, motivate a lot of aspiring software engineers or existing software engineers who are just excited about their work. Thanks so much for sharing this, Kevin. I really appreciate your taking the time to come on the channel. For everybody watching, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you found it insightful. Don't forget to smash the like button, both here and on Facebook. I came up with that pun on the spot. I'm a genius. Okay, I'm gonna cut this out of the video. I'll probably leave this in, but cut. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Smash the like button. Go check out Messenger Rooms if you're interested in it, and I'll see you in the next video.